You're listening to Get Real KC with Jen and Erik. Kansas City's consumer-facing real estate podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Get Real KC, where we are overflowing with a passion for all things real estate. I'm Erik Jurgensen.
I'm Jen Justice.
And today we have with us Lauren and Brian Dreis, who are the owners of the Senior Helping Seniors franchise here in the Northland of Kansas City. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Hey, I like to tell anybody who does great work with seniors, right, based on my own personal experience, very near and dear to my heart. I really love what you do, and thanks for coming on the podcast. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how seniors age in place, what you guys do to help them, and then we'll talk a lot about some of the home considerations that people should have, and maybe a couple topics they haven't thought of. So
Love it.
Give them some education. That's what I love about what you guys do is you just help people understand pieces of aging in place and making sure that they have what's needed and being aware of pitfalls that might exist.
It's
Those-
a huge area that a lot of people don't know what their options are, and they don't realize it until it's too late. They're in crisis mode when they're making a lot of decisions. So
Not your best place to be.
100%.
Yeah.
And we always say our two goals are to keep your loved ones safe and to keep them in their home, or keep them aging wherever they are, keep them aging in place. Those are our goals.
So give us a rundown just of what Seniors Helping Seniors does, the various things you do. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Go ahead.
okay. So we're husband and wife. So you might see a little interaction here, but
We share life, we share everything. We even share a business card.
Yes. So we do non-medical in-home support. So we come alongside a senior in whatever stage that they're going through. And if it's just getting them help at home, if it's with laundry, if it's meals, if it's running some errands, going to the doctor with them, all the way up to personal care. If they need help with a shower, if they need help just getting mobility and keeping them safe, like Brian said, getting those exercises in every day. And then really the biggest piece of what we do is coming alongside them to be a companion, to really show up for them. Because if you think about it, older adults have huge amount of change in their life, especially when they're getting older. And a lot of that is shrinking that support system that's around them. And so we're just honored to come alongside a senior and be a part of that inner circle support system.
Yeah, the one constant for seniors is change, right?
Isn't that a constant for all of us? All.
But some of the change that happens in the senior community is not necessarily led by them, right? Or a lot of times that change consistently makes their world smaller, and it shrinks the options they have. It shrinks the ability to make decisions for themselves in a lot of times, right? So from our perspective, we want to be that constant, leading with companionship first and being true companions. Because if you think about the changes that have happened, they could have lost a loved one, and then they lose their home, or lose the ability to actively live in their home, or be able to stay safe in their home, right? Related to real estate. And then slowly but surely more decisions are taken away. So if we can be that one constant in their life and be that consistent just force for good, if you will, right? And walk alongside them, meet them where they are. And address those concerns, those ADLs, activities of daily living that keeps them safe and keeps them in their home, then that's a win. It's a win for us.
Yeah, and with all the technology that we have in today's society, it seems like sometimes we lose those personal relationships, and kids are so much more likely to interact on a device versus maybe going to visit grandma or grandpa. And so that's really important, I think, to keep that human interaction. So that's fantastic.
Wait, and and as many of our listeners might know, right? So my own personal experience, my mother passed this last year, but we cared for her. Her last 3 years were riddled with dementia that got pretty serious. And between a couple of things that happen, right? The longer you live, the more your existing friend circle, particularly your peers of the same age, the more they don't, right? So your circles tend to, by the end, for at least a couple of years, and of course the pandemic messed things up, but we were her social circle, myself and my wife. And
I'd stop by occasionally.
yeah,
Send her some flowers here or there.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, and so when you mentioned the companionship thing, if you don't know how important that is, that's wildly important for those of you that might be older children that are looking at this. And I certainly want to get to, the real estate side of this,
Of course.
but first, just because I think it's great education to have out there, who's reaching out to you guys? Is it the aging adult, or is it more often the children or the caregivers of that adult?
I would honestly say both. And I know that's kind of it's both. Depends on the situation for the senior themselves and the situation they're in. There are seniors that realize they want to stay independent in their home, or they want to be able to remain in the home that they're in, and they need support to be able to do that. And on the other side of that, it is the children, the family of the loved one that are saying, okay, we recognize and realize this has progressed to a state where we need support, we need help, we can't do it. We hear often from the son or daughter of the parent, typically, I'm married, I have a full-time job, I have 3 children, I do all that I can, and I'm there as much as I can, but it's still not enough, right? It's not enough to ensure that she's going to stay safe and stay in her home. So from that perspective, that's when typically they'll reach out to us when we come in and help support, right? So whether it's respite care, which is one thing we do, and that's just respite care basically is providing support for the primary caregiver to allow them to do the things that they need to do.
And I'll tell you some stories. That is so important.
100%. We always say you gotta have opportunity to recharge your own batteries. It makes you a better caregiver to your loved one, and it allows you to continue to still live your life, right, and maintain the life that you need, while knowing that mom or dad or grandma, whoever, is taken care of and is safe and staying in their home. But from a perspective of who's making the call, it really varies from situation to situation. But I would venture to guess from our experience that it's primarily the children most of the time that are reaching out, or the grandchildren reaching out and making that phone call.
I mean, not to suggest that my experience was universal, but we were at a stage long before dementia hit where she just wasn't comfortable reaching out and vetting and
Yep.
all of that kind of stuff. We ended up in a position where the as primary caregivers, the the amount of time. Well, here, just to kind of, I mean, I started to feel guilty about essentially sacrificing things with my wife, and God, we didn't even have kids in the mix. And to care for my mother, because I'm like my wife, who's a trooper, who always told me I was an idiot when I said this, but I'm like, she didn't sign up for that, right? And it's my mother or whatever, and so I know that's a huge, like, this pull, this constant pull. So we ended up, and of course I hadn't met you guys yet. Plus we had like some family friends that worked, and so we ended up having someone come in on a regular basis, and we called it date night,
Mhm.
so that we could just go out and be alone and everything. And at first I thought, oh my goodness, I am, what a jerk I am and all that. And then I realized this is how we survived. And it's pretty fun too, because I kind of got my mother involved, and she's like, "You can't do that on Thursday. That's your date night." So it was like, she was,
When you get buy-in from everybody, you've got a lot of success there, right? And
yeah.
slow down to speed up,
Mhm.
right? Slow down, look at what we've got going on, enjoy our time, be present with our people, and then be back for others, right? It's a nice circle of life, if you will.
Absolutely.
100%.
So when you're meeting a new potential client, maybe their family, etc., you're coming to their home, and so let's talk about that home piece of it, because you guys have the experience, you have the expertise to look around a home and go, if you did X, Y, and Z, or we see that you've done this, or whatever, that aging in place, or even if you're aging in a facility and you're having these services, that, hey, life would be a lot easier for you, or maybe you should try this because we've seen other. What are some of those, like, physical things in a home or in your living situation that you can sort of speak to, that people should be thinking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the AARP actually put out a really awesome checklist, and it is what makes a home livable, especially for those older adults. And their first recommendation was one-step entry into the home, because stairs are golden light to falls and injury and just stress down the road. Having home with a bathroom and kitchen and full bathroom, kitchen, and bedroom on the main level. so they can get to everything they need.
And a fall can be a major event in a senior's life.
Absolutely.
Well,
Can
so
change
devastating.
everything.
A fall can change the entire landscape of what care looks like moving forward.
Been there, done that.
Having doorways and hallways that can have a wheelchair go down and pass through, because a lot of our older adults, they live in homes from the 60s, the 70s, and they're skinny. And so you can't get a modern day wheelchair through there. And so
Even a walker in some
or even a
cases.
walker sometimes. And so then the bathroom now has to become something in the living room, and now there's a privacy thing. It's just it's a big headache. This is one that it threw me. I didn't even think about it, but door handles and faucets being levers and not round knobs.
It's
Easy, super easy fix. Even if you're going to age in place or get somewhere else, but change those out, because that rotation with arthritis really, really hard to do.
And that's a good tip even as a senior's aging,
Absolutely.
right? Doesn't need care yet, but is just aging, to start looking at some of those things as they progress in age.
Well, and from a real estate perspective, depending on where you're at, I always say reverse 1.5s are by and large one of the most versatile floor plans. People wonder why they're more expensive. It's because the most number of people can utilize that floor plan. It's like a ranch with a finished basement, or even a ranch as they called it back in the day, right?
Right.
So those floor plans have the most livability for someone. And then those levers, I know about that because we're on the main floor of our condo in Branson, and so it's considered ADA compliant. ADA compliance, that has to be on the door. Has to be on the door. And you never really think about that as, the younger person purchasing a home. But as you start to think about, where am I going to age in place, right? This is a real thing. We're living longer than we ever have.
100%.
We've got to think about these things.
It's funny. I started being a big fan of levers, and I'm going to tell you what drove me there. Groceries. Right. I don't want to go back and forth to the car 800 times. So I load myself up with all the bags, everything. And then now I can't get the door. So I could do it with my elbow. So I was pretty selfish, but we ended up going that route. And of course, you're right. It definitely helped with my mother because she didn't, the gripping and turning.
Yeah. They also
That's
talked
a good
about kitchens having countertops that are multiple heights so that you can access them from a chair, a wheelchair, or standing if they're able to. Non-slip surface in the bathroom and the shower. A lot of those falls happen in the bathroom. So anything, grab bars in the showers are great. Raised toilet seats. If not, switch out that toilet, give them a high one. Actually, if you don't need it yet, you appreciate it already, because they're just more comfortable. And really, the other thing that kind of threw me is windows that are really easy to lift, because fresh air is a huge play in just your mental health and how you feel. So if you're able to get some fresh air, open that window up, does a lot for you.
And related to the windows, one thing that we forget is seniors are typically in homebound, right? Our seniors that are, for the majority of their life, they're in homebound. They're not getting outside, and just to have the fresh air come through and have a breeze come from the kitchen through the living room, that can change everything.
And it's certainly not the cheapest option, but a Four Seasons room would really go a long way, it sounds like, on the back of some of those rooms. And I personally hadn't thought of that one until you guys just went through some of this. And it's like, man, some of those Four Season rooms could really be beneficial to your aging population.
And and the windows is new to me too. And I hadn't thought of it. And again, reflecting on my own experience, I would there'd be the call right to the back office. Hey, is the weather nice enough? Can you come open my window for me?
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, if she didn't have me there, that's wow.
And
I feel like I'm pretty good at this. And that's one I hadn't thought of.
And I can't highlight enough the grab bars. Having proper mobility support within the bathroom specifically, anytime there's wet surfaces. Having not the suction cups are a starting point, but actually having the grab bars that are actually anchored into the wall, those are obviously are preferred, because anytime there's slip surfaces, what might not be slippery for us, for someone with mobility issues or concerns or any kind of disease state that requires that, it's extremely helpful to keep them, because we've already said how impactful a fall can be, right? Just one fall changes everything in level of care.
And
And one of the things we had in our Florida rental when we bought it was it already had the grab bars and the wide doors. So when I went to list it on Airbnb and VRBO, I had to take photos of that with a measuring tape and then show the grab bars in that. So it's a real saver
if you're
for
traveling with somebody who's mobility impaired, knowing that for sure, right? Because otherwise they've rented a place for a week that the wheelchair is 1 inch too wide for. And that's miserable. But along those lines, I'm with you. Right, we opened up the other sides of walls to put in reinforcement so we could actually put the grab bars in. Here's a little tip: is people don't always think about it. They put a grab bar here and there and everything. Your towel racks need to be anchored as grab bars, because if mom or dad is falling, they're going to grab whatever they can grab and anything that's handle wise. And if you just do those like little molly bolts in there, they'll rip that thing right off. And the other thing is, it'll actually make them fall worse because it'll put them at an angle that they weren't naturally trying to get to.
Yes, and
if they have that.
more times than not, they're going to grab that bar and what's right behind them, the counter, the sink. They're going to hit their head, and it's going to make just a little fall. Now we have a head injury, and it's just a big Pandora's box.
And to that point, the most common towel rod you see in a home built in the 50s, 60s, 70s are the ceramic or tile ends, right, with a plastic middle square piece, which will support nothing. Specifically,
a towel. This is what it's
a towel. But I mean, during a fall event, we're going to grab whatever's closest to us. And if we don't have a grab bar readily available, we're going to go for that towel rod, and the outcome will.
Just an instinct that
100%.
doesn't realize the outcome.
And if you need this help, right, if all the great realtors will have handy people that can come do this for you if you can't do it on your own. So, or give us a shout. All right. We got people we can direct you to, and I'm sure you guys do too. So absolutely. Yeah. Forget that. Call Lauren and Brian.
Call any of us. We're here to help. We're here to serve.
Absolutely. What else in the house? Anything else that you've got? I see you got a list, so you came prepared, which I love.
I did. So really, I can't stress enough the bathroom, because that is an ADL that we all take advantage of. And then once that becomes really, really hard, it's that, I don't want to ask somebody to help me in the bathroom. That's now crossing a new level. You're okay with it if you're in the hospital, but when you're in your own home, that's really hard. So anything we can do to make that bathroom safe and accessible for them. If I know it's a big expense and a big modification, but having the tub transformed into just a walk-in shower, huge, because if those 6-8 inches, they have to, maybe 10, they have to step over the tub.
Oh, that's it's
a big deal. And I have clients that refuse to take a shower. We have one particular client who called us just to help her step over the tub wall so that she could take a shower. And that was the deciding factor if she was going to be evicted from her house and have to go live somewhere else, because the doctor said, you fall one more time,
that's it.
You can't live here anymore. And I know that's a big expense and a big modification, but it could add years in the home for them and keep them from having a devastating medical event.
Well, and it is pricey. So we did a subdivision in the Liberty, Missouri area that was 0 entry. And we had a handicapped friend that was his primary gift, if you will, is that he had lived with that disability and so wanted to pass on a product, although wildly more expensive, friends. Like 0 entry is tens of thousands more dollars. So we literally have sidewalks with no stairs, showers with no lip, 100% roll-in, 100% accessible. And then some of the people that built out some of the custom ones, they wanted a tub because we did not put them in, because that's just such a hindrance to so many people that need accessibility. She had one of those open, side tub things that you just walk right in installed. I don't know what the lifespan of those babies are, but
those are pretty pricey too.
If you're building a house, you can, pick and choose what you want to put in there. But
they do have a lot of devices, assistant devices you can get. So if that tub isn't in the budget to change out, you can get bench transfer chairs where they're stationary, or there's ones that actually move where you sit on the outside, lift your legs up, and it
slides you over
to the other side.
That's amazing.
That's a safety way, especially with a caregiver. If it's your family or a professional, then you're not hurting their back, and
you're not ripping your shoulder out. Yeah.
Yep. So definitely recommend, if you can't do those major modifications, look at what those assisting devices are available and what you can get. And that's
and I think another area to focus that's less expensive are transitions. So carpet to tile, carpet to hardwood, even that little lip of moving from tile to carpet or hardwood to carpet, having that little lip. When we do an assessment with a new client, we look for those. We look for those transition pieces, because you could go over those transitions 100 times if you have a cane or a walker, right? But it's that one time you forget it's there that you trip and fall. And again, we've already established how important not falling is to our loved ones and our seniors. So those transitions Having everything a smooth surface versus having transitions can be extremely helpful.
And looking for those rugs. Those
Always.
rugs that just
Always.
I think
pop
it's
up.
hard to understand when you're younger. I'm getting closer. I'm starting to understand it now, which is the body fails you, right? Yes, we're living longer and hopefully we're having great quality lives, but you know, when you didn't used to have to worry and think about picking up your feet, right? Now your legs just aren't doing it as well. And if you're not stopping and thinking, the next thing you know, boom, you're on the ground. I mean, I watched my father-in-law do that a bunch. And so yeah, I mean, if you're a 40-year-old child right now listening to this going, what do you mean this quarter inch is going to trip somebody up? I'm like, I know it's hard to be empathetic and walk a mile in those moccasins, but having sort of lived with it.
We've got
get
those
it.
21-year-olds too.
Yeah. Well, they're usually not the ones arranging care for grandma and grandpa.
No, but they're listening.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So we're
Yeah.
educating you for the future.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you need to have a little empathy for grandma who can't just hop in the car
Eric.
in 20 seconds like you can, right? So
And in fairness, grandma might have had a life-changing event. She's been in a rehab facility, and then she comes home and she's been in bed for 20 days. And coming home now, we're relearning our mobility and
Yep.
right.
reconfirming and reaffirming our
And
mobility.
if they did spend even a week in rehab or the hospital, your body loses so much energy and strength in that 1 week. It takes weeks to build that back up. So maybe that little lip isn't a big deal, but lifting her leg, it's like lifting up over a brick. It's a lot of work and it's higher than you think. And it's going to take a lot of effort for her. And that's where those falls will happen because they just don't have the strength, to get over the things that they used to get over. And then now we have this is so awful because I used to be able to walk into the kitchen and not fall. And so now we're dealing with, that another loss and another change.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
The emotions of it.
100%. It's
Big
the
deal.
emotional side of those changes, right?
So let's talk about the solution, or your solution anyway, and then because this will lead us to another sort of in-home thing. But right, so at Seniors Helping Seniors, you have a staff of qualified caregivers. As somebody contacts you, well, I'll kind of walk through the process and then how your caregiver gets into the home and how that works.
Okay, so Seniors Helping Seniors, obviously our goal is to walk alongside families and support them. Our process starts typically with a phone call from a referral partner or directly from the source itself. And all situations are different, right? They could be coming out of rehab. They could be living in their home and just realize they need support. First step for us is we come out and we do a new client assessment. We do that purposely because, as we've talked about, we want to get
Sure.
eyes on their home, want to make sure that we are able to identify for our caregivers specifically trip hazards, mobility hazards, all that. But more importantly, we really do that for 3 reasons. It's very important that the families get to know us. It's very important that we build that rapport and that level of trust. It works a lot better if they're able to meet with us and trust us. Number 2, we want to get to know them. We want to get to know the families. We do this because we're called to do this, and we firmly believe that. So we're here to serve those families, and in doing so, we want to get to know them because matching the right caregiver matters. It's the most important thing is making sure they have the right level of care that matches the clinical needs they have, right? But also from a personality perspective, we want to make sure we're introducing someone we feel like will work. We'll be able to kind of hit it off, quote unquote, right? But
And that kind of fits like it would probably. I'm going to stop you because I want you to explain why Seniors Helping Seniors, because that fits to what you're talking about, right?
yeah, no, I appreciate that. So at Seniors Helping Seniors, we're different by design. We specifically introduce active older adults as our caregivers to seniors in our community. So our caregivers, they range in age between 40 and 70. And why does that matter? Because when someone who's walked life and has similar life experiences come in, it's called the peer-to-peer model. There's been many studies that show that is more relatable. Having someone with similar life experiences coming in is more relatable. The barriers, those walls of uncomfortableness, those walls of, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I'm ready now to give up this part of my independence. Those go down. They go down quicker because it's someone more relatable, someone they feel more comfortable with.
Yeah,
And
I mean-
it's very unique to our model.
I absolutely get it. You know, at my age, I certainly was able to identify with my mother. I mean, we were a generation apart, but we were 30 years apart or whatever it was. But to bring someone into the home that was 40 or 50 years away from her age right now, really.
That young whippersnapper.
Right. Yeah. I mean, not to, and it's not a negative or a diss or a generation. It's just
No,
the
we love
life
you, whippersnappers.
experiences are so wildly different. Right. I mean, I always tease that I don't want to talk to anybody who doesn't know who the Beatles are. Right. I mean, it's that kind of thing where you just don't have some of that same groundwork. So I think it's a very cool feature of what you guys do.
Well, one of the things that matters to us, again, with the matching process is we want to match off skill level, what we say. So skill level meaning, do we have the caregiver that has the right skill set to be able to support the loved one? We also want to match on personality type, right? But we want to match on common interest. And humbly, an active older adult probably has more common interest with a senior because they've lived life, right, and have similar life experiences. So knowing that, oftentimes families will tell us, well, mom is a little hesitant in the beginning, right? She's hesitant to have someone come in because, again, we've already established how much change happens in their
And we don't
lives.
know this person.
We don't know this.
We
This
don't know
is my home. I lived
like
here for 40 years. Do I really want someone new in my home?
Right.
They're going to change everything that I do on a daily basis.
That's the fear.
That's the fear. And our goal is not to make a change in your life. Our goal is to walk alongside life with you and improve your life, right? And to keep you safe again and to keep you in your home. Those are really our goals. So that's our process. And then we also want to come out and meet with those families because we build in real time with the families a care plan. And a care plan basically establishes for us what that care looks like. So how often we'll have a caregiver present and what activities, ADLs, they're called activities of daily living, what tasks we can do in partnership with the senior to ensure that we keep them safe and keep them in their home, whether it's bathing, dressing, helping with medications, making the meals, laundry, doing light housekeeping. Our caregivers, or because they're W-2 employees, can provide transportation services, so they can take them to doctor's appointments and advocate for them. There's a lot of different things our caregivers.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah, a lot of different things our caregivers can do outside of just personal care and home care, the socialization piece and the companionship piece. Our caregivers are trained to lead with companionship first. And I think that's another benefit to having an active older adult come and provide care for you is it's not just completing tasks. It's literally walking along life with you. And it's someone who's going to do that from a companionship piece that's truly going to dig in and really, really be mindful and care and really care about you.
And the other really cool part about what we do is the times it happens every single week. A caregiver gets set up with a new client, they go meet, and they call us back and they said, I didn't realize I needed them in my life. So the client is providing that companionship right back to the caregiver.
Yeah,
because
I could see that.
they didn't realize, maybe they walked this with their parent and they lost their parent, or just whatever that is. But they'll just say, I didn't know I didn't know we'd have this much in common, or I'd enjoy speaking, talking, and having a cup of coffee while doing our laundry, how much that would touch my life and how much I needed this. And so to be able to come in and provide this for both sides is something that we're so humbled by.
Yeah,
So,
we're humbled
very
and
honored.
blessed. We say all the time. I mean, our love is helping seniors. That's why we do this. We both have personal reasons why we wanted to start this business and why it matters so much to us, providing care for seniors in our life and loved ones. But it's amazing because we get to help seniors in two ways. We get to support them in their home, and then we get to employ them. We actually get to provide active older adults that are looking, they have our we always say we want people to have heart of service, and they get to go in and just spread that joy with other people every day. And it's really a cool thing.
I love that
It's so
spark.
cool.
Love that spark.
Well, I want to come back to your caregivers in a minute, but first I want to, because there's going to be people who maybe think that we've blown past that concern of having somebody I don't know, or at least I don't know yet, in the house. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about your opinions on, because, Jen and I, we've toured a lot of houses, Jen a lot more than me, but still a lot. And we see security setups that are clearly designed to keep an eye on what's going on with mom or dad, with caregivers. And we see cameras in places that you don't normally see cameras. I personally have yet to find one in a bathroom, but I find them in bedrooms all the time.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? I mean, good thing, bad thing, don't care.
Absolutely. Absolutely recommend it, because this is a stranger coming into your home with your loved one, with their belongings and, everything. And that's uncomfortable. And it's going to take a little time to get to that level of trust. And so having that camera is ideal. We would absolutely put it up in our own family's homes. Having that now, respecting privacy, never in the bathroom, those kind of things, but having one outside so when they show up. We have an app on the backside of our system where the caregiver logs and keeps everything, clocks in and out, keeps all their tasks and notes in there. But it's also good to know, hey, someone just showed up to the house. So having that outside camera to alert, but then having that interaction, having a two-way. So in case your conversation is going and you want to interject, like, oh, no, she's not supposed to have that for a meal, something like that. That's helpful for our caregiver as they're getting to know the client. And then just to see how the interaction went, because maybe mom says, oh, I didn't like her. But on the camera, oh, you were talking her ear off. I think you might, but that's okay. You might be a little hesitant, and that's fine. But then you kind of just see more from us.
I can't tell you how many times my mother told me she didn't like somebody. It was pretty funny. And
but she probably had a very small list of people she didn't like.
yeah, but yeah, she just, I need to vent or complain.
Sure.
And it's giving away that little piece of independence.
Yeah. So like for example, I've got outdoor security in my house, and just because I'm that kind of geek. And then
I have horse security, so I'm
Yeah.
that kind of geek too.
what
It's not really security. I just need to see what they're doing.
one day a
sometimes.
caregiver came by
Peace of mind.
that we weren't expecting to come by, and I wasn't at home, and she had a badge on, but I mean, I can go make a badge.
Yeah.
And she knocked on the
Yeah,
door.
she's got a 3D
and
printer.
my mother opened up the door and just let her right in. And so I put a camera on the inside of the house. Not in the bedroom or the bathroom, but just like, I want to know who she's letting in, and then I can kind of see which direction they're going and what they're doing, kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, so I felt like it was a good idea. I just wasn't sure where you guys were on that. So
Our caregivers are very hyper aware. They're aware that most of our clients, not most, but probably half of our clients' homes have cameras, and they're absolutely okay with that. It's not
Yeah.
a concern for us from a business perspective. We welcome it. We don't shy away from it because we're there, as I said, to show up for them and love on them. So
Well, the fact of the matter is, the reality of today's society, and we warn everybody
As you said, go ahead,
listing
yeah.
or buying clients, hey, friends, you may be on camera.
you probably are.
probably
Well,
are
yeah.
getting recorded in audio and camera. Just expect.
Don't give away all your negotiating secrets
For-
in the home that you're looking at, or vice versa if you're the seller when the buyer's in the home.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're watching from Panera, wherever they are.
So like,
Around the
just
corner.
assume
We did
you're
that once.
being recorded, okay?
Whole thing.
Yeah.
Safest bet, assume you're being recorded.
But from a senior perspective, just to tie off on this, the first line of defense for working families that are primary caregivers is cameras. So
Yeah.
if they're working full time,
Or in a different city.
or in a different city, that's
Yeah.
very common. But if they're if they're working full time and they're still primary caregivers to their loved one, the first line of defense for them will be cameras, because they can sit at their desk or wherever they are and just randomly pop in and make sure that mom or grandma or dad or whoever is okay. And then once they transition to in-home care, which is where we pop in, they'll ask the same question: should we keep the cameras? Absolutely, keep the cameras.
So we've talked about this not on camera, and I don't want to spend a huge amount of time on it, but I think it's something that people need to understand about the nature of the people who do this work, that maybe that they haven't occurred to them. So I'm just going to lay it out and then let you guys kind of briefly talk about, like, A, how you support it, and then B, it just speaks to the character of the individuals who do this kind of work. If you think about it, these people are coming in the vast majority of cases, and they're providing care and companionship to somebody who is near the end of their life, right? And that means their clients pass on all the time. And I can tell you right now, I couldn't do it. So how do you guys support that? And what does that say about the people that do it? I'm getting choked up just thinking about it.
I know. So we say, we're different by design because we hire caregivers that have huge hearts. And with huge hearts comes amazing care. But with huge hearts and amazing care comes the chance that you're probably going to get your heart broken. This is going to be hard. Even if that loss is not a death, it's a transition to more of an assisted living or somewhere where they're not going to need our support anymore. That loss is real and our caregivers feel it. And I honestly tell them from day one, I expect that because if you don't have a heart, you're not the right caregiver for us, and what our goals are. But we have an open door policy with our caregivers. Even if it's not necessarily someone passes away, but they just have a hard day, call and talk to us about it. We have care managers that pick up the phone and they'll have. I mean, last night they were on the phone 40 minutes talking with a caregiver because she had to process what was going on because she also is relating to this and she walked this with her sister. And so it brings up a lot of old scars and all that kind of stuff. And so emotions. And so we definitely want to hear about it. We want to be open and honest about it. We give them time if they just need some time, if they need a break, if this was hard or if a client passes. We also do training. We're about to do an in-service about grief because people think grief is just something that the immediate family goes through, but if you've been
It's a lot bigger than that.
it's bigger than that. And if you've been with your mom, their mom, 3 days a week for the last 6 months, that's a good relationship, and they've had a lot of valuable time together. And so we're going to talk about that because hiding and swallowing grief is not good. Our country doesn't do a great job about allowing people to grieve.
Well, we
and to
certainly
explain
don't
that.
teach our boys to do that. right?
Absolutely,
Men are
yeah.
taught to be stoic, and
Yeah. So we definitely.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is let's talk. We talk about it, and we don't ignore it and don't dismiss it. So it's definitely something that we take very serious.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine because if I would think that the people, probably some of your best caregivers have been through some version of the experience themselves, and then I try to
Repeating
picture
that.
myself doing it and repeating what I went through, and I'm
I
like,
mean,
oh my goodness.
just the fact that we created this and wanted to bring this to the community was based off of the pain that we went through. We lost my dad really unexpectedly and now take care of my mom. And that's a whole world that I wasn't expecting, that we weren't prepared for. And so by helping other people do this, it really helps me. It normalizes everything for me and it helps me live the life that we're going through. So it's just, we just try to meet people, everybody who they work with us, our client, where they're at, and just come alongside them.
And we're blessed in our caregivers and who we have as caregivers because they have huge hearts. They are amazing. They do this not because they have to, right? I mean, if you're in your 60s and you're retired from your primary role, you don't have to do this. You just because you want to. You do this because you have a heart to do this, right? But to your point, they've lived this with their families.
Yeah.
Most of our
Stir up
caregivers,
old-
most of our caregivers have lived this. I mean, we have many caregivers that have a lot of Alzheimer's experience or dementia experience because they lived it with their loved ones and went through that process with them. And now they're giving care to another family
Right.
who's walking through that, which makes them amazing at what they do because they lived it for 10, 15 years with their family. So they can come in and support. And the cool thing is a lot of time they'll say this was helpful and closure for me as well. As a caregiver, this provided some closure for me from what I went through with my family. But it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It
Yeah.
means it still
Right.
doesn't hurt because when you're ingrained in a family, right, and you're giving them, you're the primary caregiver now, and mom's now in hospice, and you're the primary caregiver, and they ask you to sit there,
With mom or
hand
dad.
in hand
Yeah.
with mom.
Yeah.
That's, you've already lived that with your family. Now you're living that with the person you're giving care for. So I'm really excited about the grief seminars that she's putting on and what she's created through that process because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be spoken about. They need to know that it's okay to be sad. It's okay.
Well, and it comes in waves, right? It's not
Yeah.
consistent
Well,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
Linear,
predictable. What
yes.
like a song
It's
or a particular coffee or
A
It could be
dog.
smell. It could be
Yeah.
smell. It could be a
It's just-
smell. It could be a sign.
And you hear this all the time, and unless you've experienced it, you don't know the real truth of it, which is that phrase that there's no right or wrong way to grieve. And so that's so incredibly real. And so
And
but you hear it, and the people who haven't really been through serious loss, they're like, whatever. You're just
Well,
giving yourself an excuse.
experience is a great educator.
Yeah.
Experience is a great educator. It really is. And so, and people do learn in different ways, but one thing you cannot substitute is an experience.
All right, so let's pivot to let's give some practical advice to whoever is listening or
Listeners,
watching
watchers.
on YouTube.
YouTubes.
What do you call them?
YouTubers.
YouTubers, yeah. If they were looking to find somebody who could, a company to help them manage their loved one's care or themselves, right? And for whatever reason they didn't reach out to you guys, what would be some advice on how would you recommend that they sort of vet a company in terms of, let's say they're in a different city, so they can't give you a call.
There's not a seniors helping seniors there.
Yeah.
What should they do? What are their top things?
Well, I think it's important, first and foremost, you can start from either a medical perspective, so start having conversations with your doctors, specialists, providers, things like that, to have that conversation.
They'll have recommendations.
They'll have recommendations. I think it's important to be tied in with an elder law, someone in elder law, something like that.
Experience.
We've had Samantha Shepard on the podcast.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Law.
Yeah,
So having someone with that background and expertise is extremely helpful. I always tell people in our market where we are, make sure we're not the only company that you speak to. Make sure that you make phone calls and start vetting others as well, because
we say that with realtors as well.
100%.
Interview, because in same instance in your guys' business, right? This is someone we're going to spend a lot of time with on something very important.
Yes.
Have a lot of conversation.
Well, I have to be comfortable enough with you to tell you exactly what I'm looking for, and then you listen and respect and then go back and look for that as well. So if they tell us that this is what's important for mom, and then we just don't even listen to that and bring in what we think is great for mom, it's not going to work out well, and nobody's gonna
It's a business term, but slow to hire, quick to fire, right? And if you take the time on the front end to interview, whether it's your realtor, your seniors accommodator, you're going to have better results.
And by
Create
the way,
those good conversations.
the only people who recommend that, right, are people who know that they're going to stand up to that kind of.
They're competent in their craft.
Yeah, I welcome that as well.
Yeah.
100%.
Competent in our craft.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
There's senior advisors that are in every market, and it's kind of a newer growing trend, the senior advisor role. Their goal is, I would highly recommend finding a senior advisor that's board certified in senior advising. What's the acronyms?
certified senior advisor.
Okay.
CSA.
CSA. Sorry.
There you go.
Find some.
Everybody loves a good acronym.
Find a CSA, because those individuals have taken the time to really go through the educational process. It's extensive, and become board certified in that.
Well, there's something to it, right?
Well, it's a
100%.
There's a lot of
learning
different
experience.
aspects.
There's
It's not just in-home care.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
every aspect of
Well, and especially with the medical world, because even at my medium age, as I like to call it, my husband had rotator cuff surgery, and that was in August of last year. And I can tell you that we're still dealing with the EOB not being right, and then the practice, who shall remain nameless because they were great to deal with on the front end, the billing side and this back end. Oh my gosh, I don't know how anybody does this. I'm a fairly competent financial person. And this is like, they have changed the numbers so many times to reflect something different.
Yeah.
And then there's supposed to be a credit, and then there's supposed to be a bill. And now, at one point we got a bill for like $14,000 after the fact. And it's like, whoa. Back this train right up.
Well, and if you don't know to question it, you're stuck.
I'm not paying you, son. Like, wake up.
Right.
Well,
First of all, you owe me back the money I gave you in the beginning, because now I've analyzed this
Yes.
and should have talked to the HR person a long time ago, right? Like, we should have been getting money back. We shouldn't have paid you $2,100. You owe us like money back.
And, well, but billing isn't the only place, right? When you're talking about big
Oh my
patient
Lord,
advocate,
no, yeah.
you're getting and not always conflicting, but confusing.
You've got to keep it
messages from
organized,
different
and it's so
caregivers,
complicated.
right?
Yeah,
And sometimes
it's a full-time
conflicting.
job.
It is. That's why
Which is crazy.
having that senior advisor is so important, because they can walk alongside that journey and make recommendations during that journey.
Yes, we hope you never have to deal with this, but the reality is you're probably going to have to.
Probably are.
At some point, someone will for sure. So having that advocate there that will kind of help through that process, whether it's finding the right in-home care professional or finding the right facility to go to, helping moving company,
transition.
help transition, helping with the finance piece of it as well, understanding what Medicaid spend down means and what that looks like. Those are terms that you need.
Well, understanding long-term care options, that's one that I'm learning about now. You know, there's a whole long-term care insurance and
there's
varying
now
degrees
long-term
and
insurance groups that are forming. All these things matter, right, and can help seniors. But if they're not aware, here's the thing: there's so many resources available to seniors, but they don't really exist. And it's not their fault. It's all of us.
well, they're not plugged into the technology like
the
the
big
younger
part.
generation is, right? And that's where that's where we're inundated with it.
So as
Right.
much as hard as it is for us to consume it right now, you cognitive slow down as you get older. And so it's like really impossible.
And it's hard to accept the fact that I need to now work
Look at
out
that.
this
Yes.
Yep.
or
Yep.
that.
So true.
Most families will wait, unfortunately, till it's
Crisis.
crisis mode.
Yep.
And then you're making decisions, being forced to make decisions versus making the right decision at the right time.
Hard to vet when you need to have something
like
done by tomorrow.
Buying a house in a very short amount of time, and I wouldn't have bought that house if I had 30 extra days. Just let's do the
Great
planning
analysis.
process so you really understand what you're getting into and what you're looking for, so you're not disappointed and you let down.
But interview a lot of different groups.
Ask questions.
When it's time for in-home care, interview a lot of different, because everyone's different. Everyone has their unique thing, right? And what works for our clients at Seniors Helping Seniors might not work for some, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And make sure you just do due diligence in that process.
That's great advice.
All right, we're coming near the end of our time, so we end every podcast asking a question, and the question to you guys is essentially, what is sort of the craziest thing that's like happened maybe to a caregiver or a situation that you've come to, and it can be funny or just crazy or nuts or even sad, but hopefully you've prepped for this. I see some smiles, so I think you have.
We've talked.
All right, Lauren, hit it with us. Hit us with it.
We have a lot of answers, but when it comes to your industry, we have a pretty cool story. So we have a client. We went out to visit him on his farm, and he's lived in this home for, oh my gosh, I think they built it in 1902.
No, it was
I mean,
He's with the
Long family farm.
no, long family farm. But what he did is, after he was no longer able to drive anymore, they took his big, huge 3-car garage, tractor garage, and made it a man cave for him. So Dad has a refrigerator, a sink, a couch, a lazy boy, all of his tractor mobiliaria, TV, heater, air conditioning, radio, bathroom, and he calls it the hut. And he's always down there. If he can be in the hut, he's down there. It was the coolest place. I wanted to spend all day just hanging out in his hut.
Nice.
So it was really cool that the family they definitely didn't want to move him from the home. But they made something even more memorable for him during this chapter of his life.
So the house wasn't really set for him to work in, but he got to stay on property, and they turned the garage into.
He doesn't live in the garage. He still lives in the
house.
Man cave.
But
But it's his spot so that he doesn't think about not driving because he's got his cool space.
It's his own dedicated
I love it.
spot. And if you come to his house on a nice day, the garage is up. And
It's the happy hut.
it's the
the happy hut.
It's his spot. And
I love that.
our caregivers love going down there when it's nice and they can go and hang out down there. And
it's hard to describe, but it's such a neat, comfortable, amazing place. It really
I love it.
is.
So I guess like the biggest thing was, maybe that senior has to move to a different place. Give them something that's theirs. Give them something they can personalize. They have a huge life, huge story, so much that they bring with them. Give them something that they can really make their own, and then they can sit there and reminisce and just feel good in their space. So that was really cool to see, and we don't get to see that very often.
And before we get away, they've got some exciting news about their podcast.
Well, we're going to
that's
get there, right?
I didn't want you to forget.
I appreciate that, right? So thank you. Well, first of all, how and we'll put this on the screen for our YouTube viewers. How do people get a hold of you guys at Seniors Helping Seniors here in Kansas City?
There's a number of different ways. You can go to our website, which is www.seniorshelpingseniorskcnorth.com.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Oh my goodness.
There were 3 W's in that.
www.shskcnorth.com will
You can-
take you right to our page.
Yep. You can find us on Facebook, the same place, Seniors Helping Seniors, Kansas City North. You can find us on Instagram, the same place, Seniors Helping Seniors, KC North. Our phone number, go
It
ahead.
is 816-477-7315.
All right.
Right.
Excellent. Now, what Jen was alluding to is you guys, along with the fine gentleman who does this on the south part of the city, have decided to share your wisdom and provide some education, and you are about to launch a new podcast.
We are.
We're so
Tell us
excited
about
for you
that.
guys.
We're big podcast people, so what?
It's a leap of faith for us. This is new to us, right? I mean, we don't typically do this on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, but yeah, I'll let you kind of.
What's it called?
So it's Aging Well in KC
Yeah.
because it's not just in-home care. Like I said, it's active older adults or older adults have so many aspects of their life. And we feel that we can really just try to showcase all those different areas in education and resources and ways that they can start planning and not crisis mode reaction, and just really just connect the community in a new way and give them a new way to find information.
And that's
We
the
love
biggest thing is let's connect the community around advocating for senior care, providing resources. Bless you. Providing resources around senior care, providing education around senior care in our community, because there's so many amazing different resources here that a lot of people just don't know exist, right?
Yeah.
So we want to try to introduce those different resources to the community at large and hope it helps. That's our goal.
You know, I love
Excited
that.
for you guys.
It's the same thing we try to do on Get Real KC, right? Which is just to bring a lot of people in and educate and everything, and then people can consume it sort of at their own pace. I wasn't probably wise enough to go out and look for a podcast like yours when I was struggling, and so there were. I mean, Jen will tell you there were times when I just struggled, and it would have been nice to listen to, like, hey, you need help doing this, you need help doing that.
A reference.
And by the way, and I'm sure you'll do some of this, which is, hey, it's okay to struggle. It's
Yep.
so very much looking forward to it. Aging Well in KC, you guys need to be paying attention for that, which will probably be coming out in the next couple months.
Yeah.
All right. We're so excited.
That's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
Oh,
having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on. This is thanks for having us on. Thanks for having us on. Your
so
podcast. So we appreciate it.
Probably had you on a podcast.
We'll do this the flip side. We'll talk about it from there forward.
I'll get to ask you questions.
There you go.
Here we go.
Thank you for being on.
Get Real KC.
All right, everybody. That's it. Another great episode of Get Real KC. Until
next time.
You have been listening to Get Real KC with Erik Jurgensen and Jen Justice. For more information or to contact our hosts, visit us at dreamhomesbyjen.com, where you can find more episodes exploring real estate as it matters to you.